Well, this is an issue that we will definitely get into, especially because of the reactions we've seen this week. The presidency writing to Al Jazeera and raising a number of concerns. It's one of the key issues here on Keypoint TV3. Let me welcome my guests. Martin Kpebu is private legal practitioner. He is leader of one of three individual bondholder groups, the convener of the Kpebu the demonstration. Mr. Martin Kpebu, good morning, welcome.
Thank you, Alfred.
Okay. Also, Sami Jemfi is National Communications Officer of the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Mr. Jemfi, good morning, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Great. And Kpebu and Titus Glover, former Deputy Transport Minister, is going to be joining us in a bit. But a number of developments. Let me start off with you, Mr. Kpebu. After last week, we had not received any official communication from the presidency the last time we had this conversation here. But after that, we've seen this communication from the presidency on this, and we're going to put that on the screen shortly. That statement from the presidency on Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's leaked 36-page report. In summary, they raise a number of things. One, that this report was not laid properly or as it were, communicated to the Chief of Staff through the proper channels. That's number one. And then also essentially describes this as mere hearsay. And then also the expressions of someone with personal grievances. And in fact, take a look at this. These are the details. Indeed, it says the allegations contained in the document are at best hearsay. It is instructive that since Professor Frimpong Boateng's meeting with the Chief of Staff in March 2021, he has taken no step nor acted in furtherance of the matters contained in the document. So, and then also, it goes on, says that it can only be rightly referred to as a catalogue of personal grievances and claims made by Professor Frimpong Boateng intended to respond to some issues he faced as chairperson of the IMCIM. The document did not have a transmittal or cover letter, nor indeed an addressee, such as to suggest that it was submitted to the Chief of Staff for action. It is not worthy that the IMCIM was a creature of Cabinet, and any formal report on its activities would normally be submitted to Cabinet through the Cabinet Secretary or directly to the President of the Republic as chairperson of Cabinet. Till date, Professor Frimpong Boateng has done neither. Okay, so this is what the presidency's statement essentially says. Kpebu and Titus Glover is joining us. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Afi. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I really had a difficulty coming this morning, but as a soldier, it's a call, so we have to respond.
Indeed. What was the difficulty?
It's up and downs, and I had a lot on my plate. So,
but it's good to have you.
Good morning to Sami and Kpebu.
Oh, Martin is sufficient. Your president has made the economy hard. Me, I'm hungry. That's the thing we have to talk about.
You don't stop attacking the president.
I'm not attacking him. He's making life difficult. We are hungry.
So let's start with it. Lawyer. So one part of the statement. Let's stick to the statement. I'll come to you on it.
Mr. Kasi, it's important. We are hungry.
We will talk about that.
Price of yam, rice, everything.
Please, yam much is yam.
Okay.
So about 30 Ghana per tuber, and we are doing this.
The communication from the presidency talks about Professor Frimpong Boateng not taking any action afterwards. In a situation like this, the burden of taking action, who is it on? Is it on the man who chaired this and put together the report, or the person who the report is submitted to?
Okay.
After something like this.
Great. So, Mr. Kasi, one more sentence on the cost of living before we go on. Charlie, the way we are not discussing enough the high cost of living. It's not good though. No, we are suffering. No, we are suffering. Did you see earlier in the week just one this tomato for 3 Ghana cedis? Tomato 3 Ghana. Did you see it going round? And then there's another one, 3 small tomatoes for 5 Ghana cedis. Indeed. Tubo of yam over 30 Ghana. Why? Pepso then crack a cake just to brush your teeth. 20 Ghana. What is this? Is this what we voted for? And every time we come and talk about the high topics, meanwhile our stomachs are empty. You meet people say, lawyer, look, for how long can we endure this crisis, cost of living crisis? President Glover, when President Akufo-Addo promised us milk and honey, today he's the only one enjoying with data bank money from the bonds, and millions of our citizens are dying, and he's enjoying. Is that democracy or just personal aggrandizement? Let's talk more about this. This thing has to stop. Look, he has to just get down because President Akufo-Addo is showing that this thing, he's up to no good. He just came to enrich his family through data bank. He just has to go. And Ghanaians, look, I think it's high time you got out. Because Sundays, you go and fill the churches, you are busy praying, the battle is the Lord. What battle is the Lord? When the man is here just making his family rich and you are in church praying. What prayer? And then I'm a Catholic. Look, I beg the Catholic Bishops' Conference. When Rawlings was in power in the early days of the PNDC, it was the Catholic Bishops' Conference that standard. You led a crusade for governance and everything. Today, the bishops are quiet and the other churches. You have to come together because Sundays, you have the biggest masses in the churches. You are preaching. But I'm not saying that, look, let's come out on the streets and force President Akufo-Addo to do the needful, or he should just go. The bishops can't continue to just preach. Reverend Martin Luther King was not just preaching in church. He was leading demonstrations like our own bishops did in the 80s. So how come today we are just quiet and talking only in churches? Anyway.
But just to put it on record, at least the Catholic Bishops' Conference and others have actually come out in time past to talk about the cost of living. So you're asking that they come out again.
Let's do more. Okay. Let's go out, demonstrate. Because, look, Mampam hasn't heard, or President Akufo-Addo Mampam. He hasn't heard. He hasn't heard. It's when you hit the streets, the masses, then the pictures will be shown to him. But if you preach in your various churches...
So it is, I think you make the point and not the characterization doesn't add any additional emphasis to it.
Mampam, you know the Mampam, that he doesn't hear. That's what I see.
Okay.
We can't take this anymore. It's a democracy. It's not, what do you call it, a monarchy.
Okay, point well made.
Okay. Yeah, so the thing, what you're saying, what you've referred to, that is personal grievances, all those things. I read it and I was like, wow, the journalist who wrote that from the presidency? You can just see that they were clutching at straws. Straws. A man is brought you a report, and I told you, just like we've been saying last week, that's the character, the modus operandi of the president and his staff at the presidency. You see evidence, and you are busy saying that there's no transmitter letter. We don't do that in court. We don't do that in court. No. Lawyers will tell you that, listen, there's a rule that when something is void, no matter how it comes to the attention of the court will strike it out. So sometimes when the thing is that bad, it's not that much about procedure. It's not that much about procedure. When the thing is bad, when it's void, then no matter how it comes to the attention of the court strikes it out. That's how we do. So we deal with substance. So in one phrase, it has to be substance over form. Look, you go into accounting, they'll teach you substance over form. You come to law, they'll teach you substance over form. Many other spheres of life, you hear substance over form. So this thing about there's no transmitter letter, what the heck? Was it not the one who was saying that the 18 Akufo-Addo promises that I will use the Anas principle? I will use the Anas principle. And somebody brings you evidence, no mean a person than a professor, your own former Minister of Environment, Science, Innovation, Technology and Innovation. Then you sit down and say, there's no transmission letter. So is the transmission letter more important than that personal meeting with the Chief of Staff? I told you that's the same thing this Chief of Staff, the President and Baumia did when the NDA matter came up. Dr. Anamzoya reported that, hey, public officers were about to steal money. They just put it somewhere, shelved it. You see, this lackadaisical attitude, they are not working, sleeping on the job, sleeping on the job. Madasa hati, just sleeping. We say go and lead us well, then you are misleading by just making your family rich. This type of governance, what type of governance is it? Such a shame. After climbing the high moral horse, every president who came before President Akufo-Addo was a thief. Every president was corrupt, except him. Now he's coming. He's even the one we've caught easily through data bank. Sometimes I look at it, I was like, wow, nature is something, eh? Is that karma on steroids? That he insulted everybody who came before him. And this evidence has been presented before you. And you're saying transmitter letter.
You say, how did the president steal through data bank?
They made the money, the commissions and fees data bank made on the bonds. It's illegal because here Akufo-Addo said if you want to make money, go to the private sector.
So I've asked this because data bank is an entity.
Yes.
And their participation in the bonds, you say that the money they made was illegal.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yes, so because data bank is largely owned by Oforiatta, yes, I understand he's now making changes made changes to the shareholding, but I'm talking about the time the bonds were issued. He still held the shares at least.
So what was the illegality in there?
President Akufo-Addo himself, on the day he was sworn in, he said that if you want to make money, go to the private sector.
I'm asking what the illegality is.
So the illegality is that's Oforiatta is brother to Akufo-Addo, and the bonds are issued by government of Ghana, and the finance minister is in charge.
So how does it amount to stealing?
Yes, the finance minister is in charge of issuing the bonds. So there's conflict of interest. You give your own company. There are 3 companies with primary dealers. Data Bank, EcoBank, and another entity, right? So they are primary dealers. So when the bonds are issued, then they become wholesalers.
So I just want to establish the statement you made. What do you mean by the president stealing through data bank? Other than that, we cannot obviously support or countenance this. I'm just saying that for us, we cannot associate ourselves with that statement.
Excellent.
But I want to understand, what do you mean by that?
Yes, I said, look, the relationship is that, look, it's their company, his brother's company. And when the brother makes the wealth, where is he going? He's not going to Akufo-Addo's family. So that relationship, very, very close relationship, he himself said, look, there's no place for conflict of interest.
The stealing there. What do you mean?
I said illegal. Yes. So, listen, there were, good. In the previous administration, there were several more companies, okay, that were primary dealers, a lot more. So when they came, then they cut down to 3, with Data Bank leading the pack. So Data Bank, Edubuain's company later, and then the EcoBank. No, okay, Edubuain's company came later, but I'm talking about from the beginning. Remember the Kemborn time, the one that went to Shraj and the rest. And the fact that, listen, Shraj said he didn't find a conflict on the first one alone doesn't close the argument. Let's be very careful. Even sometimes a case goes to court, we all know. The court decides one way or it doesn't mean that the court got it right, but well, that's a democracy. We just live with it. But we all know in our hearts that this decision is no decision. But well, it's the price you pay for living in a democracy, rule of law. So that's the point. So the Kemborn matter, Shraj may have said they didn't see conflict of interest, but most of us in our hearts, we see it. Well,
is this something that you are convinced to pursue beyond this? That's Lawyer Martin Kpebu. Beyond this, for instance, to test the law on this particular issue
yes.
of this conflict of interest, because you've been consistent about it.
So it's so nauseating, very nauseating.
If you elevate the advocacy,
yes,
I mean, are you minded to, for instance, test this in the court of law?
We are definitely going.
You're going to go to court?
We'll go. But like I mentioned the last time, what we're waiting for is that, say, in how many months more, less than 20 months, or thereabout, President Akufo-Addo will be going for Oforiatta. Then that's the time. We want them to be out of government, then we will go to court. As for that money, they will vomit it. We will take this money back. The money Data Bank made from their bonds, we will take it back. Not here in Ghana. Are we fools that you come and promise that, you are the philosopher king, incorruptible leader. I am not corrupt. I am not corrupt. Then we vote for you and then glaring so brazenly, very nauseating, in broad daylight, then you put Data Bank there, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars from our bonds. Now, today, our people are dying. Today, people can't buy drugs. Today, people are starving. Today, people can't pay rent. And you have become richer. Oh, no. We will take that money back as long as we live. So the point, back to the thing, you said the statement. So I'm saying that they were just clutching at straw. For us in law, what we operate is that, look, when the thing is so bad, like what Frimpong Boateng presented to the chief of staff, it doesn't matter that there was no transmitter letter. It doesn't matter that there was no separate report to cabinet. The most important is that did he present a document? Was he worthy? Do you see that when he responded to Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, they referred to the Joy FM documentary. Joy FM played it earlier in the week. You see the one that involved allegations against Kojo Oppong Nkrumah and his Chinese men. There's a documentary. I watched it. The Manson, Forest Matter, and the other ones. So Frimpong Boateng provided evidence. The evidence was out there already. So when he came and said he didn't do anything, so was President Kufuor, what was he thinking at the time he said he would use the ANAS principle? What was he thinking at the time he said he would use the ANAS principle? So a professor brings you these allegations. Hey, if a very renowned, not just book, but through his practice in the hospital, such a successful professor, medicine, everything, he brings you an allegation and you think that you cannot do any investigations beyond that, then I don't know if the layman were to bring some, you won't. No wonder when Anamzoya wrote a letter about the NDA matter, they shelved it. I don't know what kind of evidence, whether he expects that you should bring a picture of the person actually stealing or what. So that's his modus operandi, that everything, once he reads it on paper, it is no evidence. But you have to read and then you make a follow-up. You make a follow-up. So that response from the presidency is hogwash. Hogwash. We shouldn't do that. It's a waste of the taxpayers' money. That time and everything, the resources they use in writing such a letter, it's a waste of our money. Don't write that next time. You live in a democracy. You said it. You use the ANAS principle. And the ANAS principle is that, look, usually what will happen, they'll go and do private investigations. So once allegations have been made, you see, we are 30 million people. Frimpong Boateng didn't make allegations against even, let's say, 200 people. There are few people. So you see that there will be some basis for those allegations. So that should trigger the ANAS principle, where the president should be interested in doing his private investigations. So can say, let's repeat this. If a professor, your own minister, that you found worthy to appoint him as a minister, brings you allegations and you think they are not worth investigation, then Master, look, let's close shop and go. We are doomed, totally doomed. This, what do you call it? In law, we call it today, I have to use a bit of law, approbate and reprobate. Today, you say you are using an ANAS principle. Then when push comes to shove, no, it's nothing. You want, they should catch the thieves and bring them, catch them, or have a picture showing that the person is actually stealing. But even this one, the Frimpong Boateng, there's a documentary. So what is it? When Frimpong Boateng presented the report, did they go through? Do you see that the Joy FM, there's a documentary. You see the Chinese, you see the soldiers, you see the army uniform, and their names of the military who were providing assistance to these galamseyers. And the other ones, Imperial. Look at how Imperial destroyed the forest without any Imperial heritage. Gabi Ochiridaku's client. Look at how they destroyed the forest. There are pictures. Wasn't there forest destruction? So how can you say he didn't present any evidence? Such hogwash.
In fact, it is on the back of that I'll bring in Kpebu and Titus Glover. But let me just say that in the report, the aspect of the report that makes reference to Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, lawyer, has to do with a purported call that Professor Frimpong Boateng said that someone called him in telling him about a certain meeting that Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is alleged to have convened with some NPP and NDC journalists at a hotel somewhere in Dodowa. Now, he has come out to say that meeting was not about Professor Frimpong Boateng, but about Primpag and the Bank of Ghana. That's training for some journalists. Professor Frimpong Boateng has responded, but again, to Kojo Oppong Nkrumah's response to this particular leak, also giving him advice and so on and so forth. But that's just to put it in perspective.
Yes, thank you. I'm talking about the documentary.
Indeed.
The documentary.
Indeed. In fact, we have pictures of that. I just want to reiterate the point that some of the issues or statements you made earlier, we cannot associate ourselves with it as a station. So we disassociate ourselves from that. But Kpebu and Titus Glover, why would the presidency, and I ask you this because you are a member of this party and one-time former minister. The summary dismissal of this report as mere hearsay and the expressions of someone who has some personal grudges. Couldn't the presidency have instituted some form of investigation into this matter, considering the president's own, the verbal commitments that we have seen putting his presidency on the line? And then also the pictures that Professor Frimpong Boateng attached to the report that he sent to the Chief of Staff. Was that not enough basis for the presidency to have moved in there? And I played a clip earlier, the description that that's the president himself gives to Professor Frimpong Boateng as a man of integrity when he was talking, and that same platform that he said he was putting his presidency on the line. We have some of the pictures that Professor Frimpong Boateng attached to this report. Let's put that on the screen right now. Some of the pictures of the sites. This is it. Okay, these are the pictures he attached to the report to give evidence beyond what he was saying about what was happening in the forest reserve. Was this not enough for the presidency to have instituted some form of action into the details of this report?
Afi, thank you very much. And once again, good morning to your viewers and Sami and Lawyer Kpebu. Sitting down and listening to Lawyer Kpebu and his incessant attacks on the president, calling him a thief or stolen, and that matter, it makes me jittery, and to find out whether Martin is not a frustrated, disappointed lawyer who is going agog and somebody who cannot manage his own life.
Okay,
please,
hold on a bit for
please.
Okay,
please,
listen,
please.
Listen.
Please, I said please. Afi,
hold on. Let me make the point. Let me listen.
Use all kinds of words to attack the president. Why are you asking me to do that?
Listen.
What is this? You asked me to prove, and you saw how he was going around.
Good. So to the extent that wait, listen to me.
Let me deal with him.
No. Listen.
Why?
Listen. To the extent that I asked questions and you saw clearly that, as you were saying, he was not able to. I would want you to.
When you were talking, I was quiet. So please.
The expression about the president.
When you were talking, I was quiet.
The president.
Alfred.
Listen.
Did I use the word?
Listen. Gentlemen, hold on. Now, Titus Glover, I would not. Nico, hold on.
Money, and you prefer to use
Lawyer
stealing.
Martin
That's your
Kpebu,
word.
hold on. Nico Titus Glover, I want us to stay on the subject because
Alfred, I will not stay on the subject until I respond to his incessant attacks and insults.
Hold on.
He's a thief. He has stolen.
Please.
When he pushed you, then you ran away. But you use the word he has stolen. Please, did you see him stealing money?
Illegal money. Data bank is there.
Did you see him stealing money?
Is there clearly?
This show will not finish the show.
Listen.
This show will not finish the show.
You can respond.
Somebody who is frustrated and disappointed lawyer who cannot manage his life, his family, his law firm. He goes a court and he saw the president, and you expect me to sit down and watch him?
Listen.
Are we joking?
Listen. You can respond to him.
I'm responding to him.
Not attacking his person.
I earn my own living. He's not attacking the president. You live on our taxes, Mr. Glover.
He's not attacking the president.
You can't even talk like that.
Please, if you don't want, let's get up on the show and go. I will respond to him.
Mr. Glover, you are not even allowed to talk.
When you were talking, I was quiet. When you were talking, I was quiet. So keep quiet and listen to me.
It's my tax.
You can't sit down there and be throwing tantrums, attacking the president.
It's my taxes that are used in paying.
Is that what you're saying?
But I'm in private.
Did you see him stealing money?
It's my taxes
Did you
that I
see
use
Mr.
to pay
Kufado
you. So
stealing money?
You have to
if you are a
be
disappointed lawyer somewhere,
You
go and
have
manage
to be
it.
courteous, Mr. Glover.
Go and manage your life.
Okay.
You have to be courteous.
What do you
It's
mean?
our taxes we use in paying you. You can't be
Please.
arrogant.
Ask him.
Lawyer Martin Tebo,
Mr. Glover.
Lawyer,
please.
Lawyer.
Please, manage your life and your family. Please,
Hold on.
don't come and going disappointed and going all over. Do you win all cases?
Gentlemen,
do you win all cases in court?
Microphones are off.
I said, do you win all cases
Your
in court?
microphones are off.
Such a disappointed lawyer.
Hold on. Let's